All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. And welcome especially to this special edition of the Adult in the Room podcast. You know, the focus of this podcast has been on Antifa's corrosive impact on the body politic. Go back and listen to those impactful pods on Apple Podcasts. Go back and listen to them back from October 14th, 2020. And I've always wondered, who's pulling the strings? Who's bought and paid for this op anyway? But I'm a big civil libertarian, and the First and Second Amendment mean a great deal to me, and Fourth Amendment as well. And the lawfare antics against President Trump and conservatives, especially those J6ers, well, those have really captured my imagination and everything attendant to it. I have several interviews with J6 defendants, and which became another frequent topic, as you probably noticed. But one that stands out was one I just recently did, and I've wanted to talk to this guy for years. I mean, years. Douglas Mackey, was an activist and a guy who was what you might call a Twitter troll, as they called Twitter 1.0 back in the day. And the last time I checked, being a Twitter troll, not against the law. But along came the Biden administration in 2021. And suddenly, a meme for the 2016 election became a federal offense all of a sudden. And Doug Mackey stood the chance of going to federal prison. Well, Douglas Mackey and I went into granular detail of his case and its eventual outcome. And I want you to give a real solid listen to this. And if you're preparing all the good stuff for Christmas and wrapping presents and all that stuff, enjoy this interview. He thought he'd been doing things pretty well. He's kind of as they call it, a shit poster. And okay, fine. There's nothing against the law with that, right? Wrong. Well, technically, that's right. He had every right to do what he did, but not under Joe Biden's DOJ in America. He's here to tell a story after a 4.5-year-long battle in the courts to get his reputation back and to win back rights for Americans that we thought were gone forever. Douglas Mackey, thank you so much for coming on the Adult in the Room podcast.
It's really great to be here. Thank you very much.
I'm sure there's lots more. I mean, for a while, you are an economist by trade, correct?
Yes, that was my previous life.
What are you doing now? I just want to sort of get that out of the way. Do you have gainful employment these days, or are you still being censored and blocked?
I'm lucky to be self-employed. I'm a self-employed editor. So that's what I do for my day job. I've got a few other irons in the fire.
I'm sure you do. I just didn't know quite what you were doing these days because that's it. I'm glad to know, though. And, well, okay. So you came to my notice. I didn't recognize your name, but I did recognize your pseudonym, your nom de guerre, on Twitter, where you valiantly fought back the left on behalf of right-leaning causes. And so 2016, you put on Twitter exactly this. A silly meme. I'm with her. Go Hillary. Avoid the line. Vote from home. Text Hillary to 59925 and vote for Hillary and be a part of history. And it was a meme, a joke. It's sort of like the same thing as people say when they put up posters, and I've seen them in my lifetime, seen posters. If you're a Democrat, vote on this day. If you're a Republican, vote, and it's always the day after the election. Okay. So what happened to you after you posted this?
I'm laughing just looking at it. If you look up in the top there, the whole thing is so silly. The Charlie Sheen wearing the mask and wearing the hat. So after the whole thing is so silly, and that's obviously how I looked at it. After I posted this, my account on X, well, Twitter, back in those days, was suspended. This was 2016. And it was suspended because an individual from a professor, I believe,
Of
from
course.
Loyola in Chicago became offended by it and complained to Twitter that this meme should be banned. And interestingly enough, the Twitter moderation people refused to take it down. So the next thing he did was complain to Jack Dorsey, the then co-CEO or whatever, co-founder of Twitter. And he said, "Oh, yes, we made a mistake," and they suspended my account. And then this meme, this screenshot that you just showed there, after they suspended my account, wound up on Wired and I believe CNN. There were other news outlets talking about this meme, saying, "Oh, this is a horrible election disinformation, by the Republicans. They're trying to convince people not to vote or vote the wrong way." Of course, that was completely absurd in my mind, or so I thought. I didn't think a single person could have possibly been tricked by this meme, even if you think that the other side isn't very intelligent. Now,
Where
fast
did
forward, go ahead.
no, you talk.
So, fast forward, I moved on with my life. I was doxxed and harassed in 2018, which precipitated a move to Florida. So, I'm living in Florida. I had actually been off of Twitter for several years, not even using it. And then, of course, we know what happened. Joe Biden won the election, or some of us believe that he stole the election and that Trump won the election. In any case, Joe Biden was inaugurated on January 20th of 2021. And 7 days later, I got a knock on the door from the FBI to open up. They said, "Are you Douglas Mackey? We have a warrant for your arrest." The first two words out of my mouth were, "For what?" And they basically didn't tell me. All they said was, "We're taking you to the courthouse." And let me
What?
just point out that they got the arrest warrant just 2 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated.
Wow.
So, and I wish I could say, "Oh, this is because of the Biden people in the DOJ, right?" False. The Biden people in the DOJ had not even been appointed yet. What happened was the Trump people left, they resigned, and the career bureaucrats within the DOJ, I guess this was their first priority, was to take this case and get the approval from Main Justice, because these kind of cases, you got to go run up the chain. Of course, when Trump was in the White House, the Trump people said this case is absurd. This would be a violation of free speech. There were numerous other deficiencies with the case, and
Mm,
ultimately, that's why I won.
wasn't
Not to
telling.
give away the game here. So ultimately, the Trump people refused to bring the case. Before Biden people were even in place, the career bureaucrats, the deep state bureaucrats within DOJ went to a federal judge, got an arrest warrant, and indicted me for posting this meme. They called it a 18 USC 241 conspiracy against rights, a federal felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison, and the death penalty if anybody was killed in the commission of the crime. So they're taking a potential death penalty statute that is intended to penalize conspiracies to injure, threaten, intimidate, or oppress anyone in the exercise of a federally protected right. So if you are going to go vote, and me and my friends don't want you to vote and we go and assault you or even kill you, we can be arrested and face the death penalty. So if you think this is crazy to indict somebody under this statute for posting a meme, you would be completely correct. And this was crazy.
I
So
just
I can continue on
Oh,
and
yeah, let
tell
me
you
just go
exactly what
back.
happened, but I'll let you interject.
Yeah, you tell a great story. I just wanna go back on that day that the FBI comes to your house. What were you doing? What time was it?
It was 5 minutes till 7 a.m. I was still in bed. I was a bachelor at the time, living with two roommates who were said, "What in the world is going on?" And they even tried to interview my roommates, like, "Have you seen this guy posting a dirty meme lately?" or anything like that. And to their credit, they refused to speak to the FBI. And this is 7 a.m. They allowed me to go and put some clothes on
Oh,
and use the
that
restroom.
hey, when you think about what happened in the J6ers, you kinda go, "Hey, at least they let me put some clothes on," because some of
I
those
know.
people were not able to do that.
Oh,
Keep
yeah,
going,
and
I'm
they didn't
sorry.
have their guns drawn. They didn't ransack my house, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
So they put me in the squad car. First of all, they told me, "Don't bother bringing your wallet or your phone," because, they just made it sound like that would just delay the processing
Processing?
processing.
They were gonna take it from you anyway,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay. Oh my gosh.
They let me take my roommate's number so I could call him up, and try to get a ride home. And then they didn't even give me the piece of paper, they took it from me. These rabid New York FBI agents, 2 ladies wearing, Vans sneakers, very bizarre. They put me in a squad car, khakis and Vans sneakers, I don't know. They put me in a squad car and said, "Are you ready to talk?" I said, "Well, I'm not gonna talk to you." I just said, "No." The only word I said was no, because why would I talk to these people who think that a meme is a crime? So I'm going to reason with them? No, it's completely absurd. And for anyone watching, most people know you shouldn't talk to them anyway,
Sure.
because they're just trying to get you to incriminate yourself, even
That's
if
right.
you're completely innocent.
Never talk to a cop if you don't have to until you've talked to an
Absolutely.
attorney, and even then, I would not recommend it necessarily.
Absolutely. And
So you
every
how
police officer will tell you that.
right, exactly. You're in the
So
back of the squad car.
I'm in the back of the squad car.
What are you thinking? You still didn't know why, right?
I still had no idea why. They had these piece of paper, and now I'm in the hands of the Florida agents who are actually good enough guys. They weren't actually case agents. They were just called into duty to go along on an arrest. And they've got a packet of paper. They're jotting details down. How tall are you? You know, that kind of thing. Basic information that they ask you. And I can look over on the piece of paper like this, and I see conspiracy against rights, indictment. So, of course, had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, whose rights were you supposedly getting in the way of?
Well, apparently they believe that there's people out there that actually would text their vote and fail to vote. So 95 million people or whatever they thought I was conspiring against. Completely absurd.
I see, I
Yeah.
see. For example, conspiracy against rights is what the federal grand jury in Florida is likely going to consider in the case, that against the feds on behalf of Donald Trump, because they all conspired against his rights. So it does make sense to some extent, but this is so huge. I mean,
Yeah.
and plus, were you in a conspiracy of sorts? I mean, who were your co-conspirators here, Douglas Mackey?
Great question. Well, the funny thing is I was not conspiring with anybody to post the meme, but what they did do is they subpoenaed all the Twitter group chats, and they found some group chats that some of them that I was technically a member of, some of them that I was not even a member of, where people were sharing this meme and saying, "Oh, this is so funny," and they were designing this meme. Now they had no evidence that I had even read a single one of these group chats, where, back in those days, I was a member of a number of group chats
Sure.
because people would say, "Do you want to be in my group chat?" Whatever, and then I don't have time to read 1,000 messages a day.
Right.
So they had no
It's like
proof
being
that
on
I.
Telegram. It's just mind blowing. I can't
Oh
read
yeah,
one. I can only imagine what they would do with me with my Telegram account. I'm barely on it, but there's 5 gazillion messages there I've never read.
and apparently you're criminally liable for all of them without any proof that you've read any of them.
Yeah,
Now think
that's
about that for a moment.
yeah, I know that is
So what they
really
did
frightening.
was, we fought this case. There was no question of pleading guilty to a federal felony. We thought it was completely absurd. We fought the
Sure.
case. The judge didn't throw it out. We forced the government to concede a few things and a few motions. Standard stuff. It took
Yeah.
2 years to go to trial. Granted, we weren't in a huge rush. Delays actually usually help the defense more often
Yeah.
than not.
Well, I mean, during this administration, you kind of want to keep it going as long as possible, I imagine, just to get away from the Biden people, even though did you know at that point it was just deep state actors that were doing it against you, or had the Biden administration, DOJ, fully
Yeah,
embraced
they had
this
fully
case?
embraced this case.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, there was
Yikes.
no question. A man named Breon Peace, who was the Biden U.S. attorney. So Breon Peace embraced this case. He was out there putting out press releases and tweets and all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff. So a month before trial, they said, yeah, we have a cooperating witness against you. They found some guy who was in a group chat who I'd never seen in my life, never talked to at all before the election of 2016,
Mhm.
uh, and never even spoke to him within these group chat environments. And they said, "This is your co-conspirator. He's going to testify against you.
Oh man.
Here's all the interview reports of us interviewing him."
Oh, so you got a bunch of 302s?
Exactly. We got
Oh,
the 302s, and there's about 11 of them or 14.
wow.
And what they
Is that
did
how long
was,
it took him to convince him to turn state's evidence?
that's exactly right. He thought he was just gonna, I don't know what he thought. He thought he was just gonna help them out with a few things, and then later on down the road, they say, well, yeah, we think you're gonna have to plead guilty here. Otherwise, we're really gonna turn out the screws on you." And what he said all along in the beginning was there was no conspiracy, there was no effort to actually steal or deceive anybody
Mhm.
out of casting their vote. This was a joke. It was also provocation towards the left, which apparently worked a little too well. They were quite provoked by it.
Mhm.
So, and then about halfway through, maybe 6 or 7 interviews in, they ask him, "Oh, can you see how this was conspiracy?" "Oh, yes, yes, I can see how it was conspiracy now. Yes, now I
Oh,
can see."
like he's an attorney or something who can give an answer about a legal matter. I
Absolutely.
imagine he lawyered
Yeah,
up. His lawyer's probably going, "Cop to anything, get out of this." Probably.
exactly. That's basically what they told him.
Mhm.
He didn't have the gumption, let's say, to fight the case or to look. He never should have gotten involved with the feds in the first place to begin with. I don't think they ever had good intentions for him.
Sure.
They viewed him with total contempt,
Yeah.
which came out in these interviews. Just
Really?
for Yeah,
A
they
couple of
did because
smart alecky,
contempt and also fear, because this individual who went by a pseudonym called Microchip, he was making all these wild claims like, "I hack into the algorithm, I'm causing worldwide mayhem," and it was all just bluster, but they seemed to actually believe it. So they looked at him with a combination of fear and loathing.
You know, so this is we'll just sort of put, pause on the narrative at the moment, but I want to find out where your head was at that point in time. And you're an early Trump supporter. I mean,
Yeah.
that was in and of itself pretty unusual. I can remember, cottoning to him a little bit towards the end of the race, and but because I was just so horrified that he was so out there, he talked naughty and such. And of course, I just never seen anybody like that before, but I was delighted when he won. So I've voted for him 3 times. And so, but where was your head on? What were you doing? What job did you have? What caused you to go, as many people called you, a shit poster? What were you thinking about?
So, from my perspective, I had seen the left grow increasingly rabid since about
Yeah.
2012, uh, when they went crazy with all kinds of things like BLM. Uh, there was a whole number of issues where they
Lois
basically just
Lerner,
said Lois Lerner,
501c3s, Lois Lerner,
exactly.
Ferguson,
Obama,
BLM.
they were calling everybody a racist, a sexist, a
Yeah.
xenophobe, on and on down the line. And Obama really embraced this in his second term. He waited until he didn't have to face any more elections to really embrace it.
Yeah.
And so this is so, of course, I never paid a whole lot of attention to Donald Trump other than, he seemed like kind of like an entertainer. Let's just say he was like an entertainer and have all these crazy stunts like the birth certificate and
Yeah.
get publicity, The Apprentice, all this stuff. So he just didn't seem like a serious political candidate. But
Until
until,
let me just ask
yeah,
you, let me just put this in here. He went through multiple police departments and got from them consent decrees, which caused all kinds of mayhem within each cop shop that underwent this, of one of which was Portland's.
yep,
And they've never recovered from that. And that gave rise to out of control protests, violence, Antifa, emboldened, all kinds of things emanating. I mean, Portland is the uh, true north of where they want to go. And
yep.
that's what these consent decrees did, I believe. They got one from
Oh, yeah.
St. Louis and Ferguson, and I mean, all kinds of mayhem. Anyway, continue with your
And
narrative. I
so,
just want to put
and
that there.
the Harmeet Dillon is still trying to undo these consent decrees in many cases.
More power to
So,
her. I
and
think she might
and the
use
other thing
them.
I'll tell you
She'll
guys,
use the entree to those consent decrees to go back and rewrite them, is what she's probably
hey,
planning to
that
do.
sounds good to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Make it much better. So, the other thing they try to do is they try to convince us that George Zimmerman had gunned down a tiny little
Yes.
baby in cold blood. I mean,
Yeah.
once I saw that these were lies, then I started asking a few more questions.
Yeah.
So President Trump came down the elevator, and I've actually known some individuals who had actually made the case for a populist candidate, a conservative populist candidate, to take over the Republican Party. And then, so I was like intrigued by the idea. And then Trump came down the elevator, and he's basically saying almost all of the agenda items, 90% of the agenda items. So, and not only that, he was really in their face about political correctness and he didn't care. He was going directly after the media. He was trolling them and dating them. And they
Yes.
were
We
taking the
loved
bait. So I
that.
said, "Oh yeah, I loved it." And so I said, and actually, we had been doing this. I had been doing this a little bit with, some other people on Twitter to the left for several years, where we would bait them into arguments and then expose sort of, the flaws or the fallacies of the arguments or the absurdity of them. Other times we would just bait or troll them for the fun of it. So this is what, we were doing. And then Trump came along and he was doing this on a massive scale. So
Big
basically,
troller.
that's when I was all in on President Trump, and I was all in on the campaign basically from the start. To be honest, not even June because he came down the elevator. I think it was June, but I didn't even really pay much attention until the end of June. So, but once I looked at it and saw what people were saying about making the actual case for Trump, then I was on board.
Well, you had more prescience than I did, I'll tell you that much. But now, who were you working with at this time? What were you
Right.
doing to
Right.
make a living, and why did you,
Yeah.
why were you in this milieu?
I was in New York City, in Manhattan. I was working at a small boutique economics consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York. That was my day job, which I actually left that job in around June of 2016. And, that was my day job. I was always interested in economics and ultimately politics. Since my college days, I was interested in politics going back even earlier than that, but then I started getting interested in economics. During my college days, I was always attracted to the anti-establishment messaging and the anti-establishment cause. Since I didn't really like George W. Bush
Mm.
that much, but then I was, I was very young. I was like 16 years old or less,
Hmm.
15 years old. John Kerry lost, and I was confused. I was like, George Bush so bad. Why did John Kerry lose? And then you look at it, and it's like, well, John Kerry, in a lot of ways, was you could call it the uniparty establishment. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy was not any better than George Bush, I don't think.
What political
And
tribe were you a part of?
so I would say when I was very young, I was talking about early in high school, I was more liberal. So I was more liberal during high school. I guess I would say I was a Democrat. I mean, I was just following sort of the anti-war thing and everything else with George W. Bush, who was very unpopular,
Gotcha.
and the Middle East conflicts. I think my main issue was the Middle East conflicts,
Yeah. Of
and it seemed to me that the liberals were compassionate and
course,
all that kind of a
we
thing.
all
Being
think that
young
when we're
and
young, don't we?
well, to be honest, it was just probably just reading the local newspaper,
Sure.
and then branched out from there and saw the flaws, read more about the flaws, especially with economics and learning basic economics and learning about the flaws of the sort of socialist left wing project and how it doesn't really work. So that's why I became attracted. And I was like, well, I looked into John McCain, wasn't very crazy about him either. And I became a little bit more libertarian because of the economics, because of the politics,
Yeah.
the foreign policy. So I was interested in these Ron Paul anti-establishment movement in 2008, 2012, when Ron Paul really fizzled
Ron
out.
Paul.
Ron Paul,
Did you
yeah,
say Ron? Yeah, yeah. His
Ron
dad.
Paul. Ron Paul,
I knew a lot of Ron Paul people. Yeah.
yeah. And I still know a lot of them, and they're good people
Mm-hmm.
mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So 2012, Ron Paul obviously fizzled out and was like sort of in the malaise of Obama's second term. He's sort of demoralizing politician, demonizing the people that built the country, and like you said, even these consent decrees, jumping in to comment on the Trayvon Martin case, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, not to mention, he was pushing this quote unquote war on women, this
Oh,
feminism,
yeah.
all kinds of weird things going on.
How
So,
corrosive did that turn out to be?
yeah, yeah, really, yeah, and we're just actually reaping some of the worst elements of it.
Yeah, we are.
Uh, in
Great.
recent years, this whole feminism really went crazy. So that's sort of the evolution, and then Trump came down the escalator, and then I was sort of on the Trump bandwagon, let's say. And I would say I still support a lot of the ideals of libertarianism, talking about liberty, free markets. However, I don't view those as absolute goods. There's always going to be laws and limitations on personal liberty
Mhm.
and even free markets, but they should generally be freer, like ordered liberty, let's say. So I
Yeah.
was able to get on board with President Trump and sort of the package that he was offering.
But he was a populist, or at least marked as one. We didn't quite know what he was, but I guess his selection of the border, America First, that gave everyone, okay, that guy's a populist, and he had to be stopped, didn't he? And so it's so
Exactly.
interesting, and hearing how at that time they were putting down populist candidates around the world, the U.S. State
Yeah.
Department, USAID, doing all of those things in the name of the United States, or at least, on paper written in a visible ink anyway. And here was a guy who embodied everything they were set out to do. He was everything that they hated. So, and you're part of it. So you look
Exactly.
really bad. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So I was,
Did you know they were
anybody.
investigating? This
Oh, good
investigation
question.
started. But what's that?
Oh, I said, good question. Good question.
Yeah, did you know you were being investigated because it started in the Trump administration with these guys? Is that right? Or how did that work?
Yeah, so I guess I was naive. I didn't think I was being investigated. Or I didn't think I could possibly be charged with anything, that's for sure. So
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
2017, Senator Amy Klobuchar
Mhm.
blew up this meme, put it on the Senate floor, said, "This is a felony, blah, blah, blah." I didn't really pay her any mind because how could this meme that is obviously satirical parody in nature and just to me it seemed obvious free speech. How could this be a crime? So I didn't think of anything of it. Then in 2018, when I was living down here in Florida, I got a knock on the door, and two lady FBI agents, they said, "Oh, we want to talk to you about some other guy, this guy named Paul Nalen."
Uh-uh.
And he was a congressional candidate. Uh, I had, spoken to him a few times, but I was really, I didn't know him very well or anything like that. Well, I don't trust the FBI, so I just told him, "Yeah, I will get back to you by the end of the day. I really have to go to work." So I went to work. I gave him some lawyer's name. The lawyer talked to them, and nothing ever came of it.
Mhm.
Later on, I found out that the lawyer who had a successful career was toward the end stages of his life, and he actually was getting dementia, so he actually kind of dropped the ball on this. Needless to say,
Wow.
I wouldn't have agreed to talk to the FBI anyway. Uh,
Sure.
so,
Right.
regardless of what the lawyer had
Hmm.
to say, so so this was I guess these were the hints, but no, I didn't even think how could I be investigated for what crime did I commit? I didn't believe that I committed any crime. Of course, I didn't trust them that they wanted to talk about this other guy, Paul Nalen. That could just be a pretext or a
Oh
ruse.
yeah, sounds like it. Who is
Yeah.
that guy anyway? Did he turn out to be a bad guy? Did he get elected somewhere, or
Yeah,
what's
he
going
didn't get
on?
elected. He kind of went off the rails and
Oops.
disappeared,
Wow.
disappeared from public life. So yeah, no, he kind of went down a rabbit hole and disappeared. And he tried to run for Congress, but he got beat pretty badly.
I see. Was he some sort of alt-right, as they were calling all of us, the
Yeah, no, he started off sort of as an alt-right guy in terms of just he was actually more like a Trump guy. He
Oh,
was
okay.
saying, "I'm with Trump on the border, on the immigration, on trade." He would talk about trade a lot.
Mhm.
Trade is his big policy.
So he had to go
And
too. He needed
yeah,
to
he
go.
had to go. But yeah, he started talking about a lot of other things that were maybe a sideshow
Mhm.
a couple years later, and that's when he flamed out. He kind of
Oh,
got off the message.
okay, so you're still single. You're and what were you doing for work then?
I'm actually no, now I'm married.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were single then, though, that
Yeah,
this
I was still single in Florida. I was working as a legal assistant as sort
Oh,
of it was a temporary job as I tried to start my business. So I spent about 2 years in here in Florida as a legal assistant,
hmm,
getting getting ready to launch a business. And so that's what I was doing. And I launched the business like in 2020. So it was before I even got arrested. So fortunately I was able to make money during this ordeal.
yeah. Huh, huh. Wow. So you're going along, this is 2017 then? And now
2018,
we
yeah.
2018. So 2018, what was going on with you? You're starting your business, and your business is an editing business, is that correct? Or
Yeah,
of some
yeah.
sort?
Mhm.
So media, is that correct? Or
Media,
a different
that's right.
okay, sorry for my ignorance on that. I'm
No
somebody in the
worries.
media and I didn't know that, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing that, good for you.
Mhm.
And then what happens?
So, yeah, 2018, I was legal assistant. That's when the FBI knocked on my door. 2020, left that job, started the business. And then, of course, the crazy COVID stolen election
Yeah.
thing was going on. And then the next thing that happened was Biden was inaugurated and I was arrested. That was January of 2021.
What did you? Where were you? Were you a J6 or a 2? Were you there on January 6th? Should I
Well, that's
ask?
why I was so confused when the FBI was at my door, because I wasn't a J6er. I wasn't at January 6th. So I said, why are they knocking at my door?
Mm,
They're arresting all these J6ers. So I had no idea what that was about.
huh. Huh. Okay. So 2 days after Biden is inaugurated, they pull the trigger on your prosecution. And then 5 days after that, they arrest you. And then when they arrested you, did they put you in shackles?
Yeah, so they put me in handcuffs. And then when I get to the courthouse, they put me in the leg irons
Oh,
for
geez.
my arraignment. And of course, all this whole time I had to wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.
I had to be arraigned to be a laptop because apparently we couldn't be in the same courtroom as the judge, for the paranoia of the COVID virus. So that's what happened. Yeah, I was in the mask and the leg irons. And then I got arraigned by the judge. He said, you have to, first of all, turn over your guns to a friend or whoever else. You have to sign a $50,000 signature bond. It's basically saying that, if I skip on bail or whatever, then they will seize $50,000 from me. And uh, that's basically, yeah, that's what happened. It's just crazy, the arrogance of these federal prosecutors,
It really is scary.
and they really try to turn the screws into you.
Sure. They have a lot of power and they use it. They use it for not always for good. In fact, if you're a target, a defendant, you are not in a good place. So let's talk about their evidence here. Here is a meme. You, as the Ricky Vaughn, as I knew you, um, you tweet that out, okay, and then you tweet this out. Ooh,
Yeah, I think that one was a retweet.
oh, that's a retweet. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So who did you make the meme? Where'd you get it?
So I didn't make these memes. They actually were on 4chan, which is where I found them.
Oh yes, the evil
The,
4chan.
the evil hacker known as 4chan. And so they were on 4chan. There were a lot of these threads called Trump General Threads. So I'd go there and click on the thread, and there would be all kinds of memes or links that I could then take and share on Twitter. So that's what I did. And these memes were not just on 4chan, they were floating around all over the place, Facebook,
Mhm. Yeah.
which, really put the lie to their claim that this is a conspiracy when you've got memes floating around the internet and people are sharing them because they think they're funny, and you're going to call this a criminal conspiracy.
Right. So everybody who retweeted the meme, I suppose they could have rolled up and said they were part of a conspiracy. I mean, that'd be stupid, but
Yeah,
this was your prosecution was dumb.
they
So you
basically did that. They called them unindicted co-conspirators.
and how many unindicted co-conspirators were there?
So it started out, there were 4 listed in the indictment.
Uh-huh.
But there's this issue about rules of evidence where, in order for you to get third party statements into evidence, then they have to be, you can't just have like hearsay third party statements. So they needed to label all of these individuals unindicted co conspirators. My attorney said at trial, of course, he fought this. He said, you have to strike
Sure.
this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the judge just said, no, no, all of these people are unindicted co conspirators. So you could say there were dozens or 100. It was really one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And honestly, and my attorney thought that I mean, look, there were so many ways where we thought this case could have, whatever, been overturned. But that was one
Oh,
of them where he said, how can you allow all these statements into evidence of third parties that you can't cross examine
it's
them?
hearsay.
It's hearsay. You can't cross examine them. They're not in the
Right.
room, so you can't cross examine them. And they say, well, these are unindicted co conspirators.
Oh, okay. I'm just I've always wanted to go through this case. And I just am shocked that something this stupid could have been done in American courts.
Yeah.
So you didn't do the meme. you put it out there on Twitter, as did everybody, at that point in time. It's a closing in on an election. You do it, and can I ask you, did you ever call that number to find out where it went or the text?
I never did, but some people did, and initially nothing happened. But then the Hillary Clinton people got a hold of it, and they put a message saying, "This is not a real way to vote, whatever." Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, why not? Yeah. But and then how many people ultimately and how many people dialed or texted
Yeah,
Hillary to that number? Do you know? It had to have come into evidence,
I
right?
do. Oh, yeah, this is a big issue at trial. 4,900 people
Okay.
texted the number.
Most of whom were reporters trying to find out what happens when you
Well,
text
that's
it, right?
exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Because when we looked at the timeline, and when I tweeted the meme, a few people texted it, a couple dozen, let's say. Then this Loyola guy, this professor, got a hold of it and started complaining about it loudly. And then maybe up to 200 had texted the number. And then it went on Wired, it went on CNN,
Of course.
and
Mhm.
that's where the next 4,700 people texted the
Ah,
number was they
yeah.
saw it on their TV. And so what do you think the New York Times did reporting this case?
They said they reported the number, the biggest number
Exactly.
possible to
And
show
they
that
said these people were tricked. They said
oh, they
Twitter
said they were
trolls
tricked.
tricked 4,900 Democrats. Now, if you
Oh,
look at the indictment,
huh.
the prosecution, first of all, never even tried to claim that 4,900 people were tricked. They never even tried to claim that they were Democrats. But the New York Times went and put that as their headline. Twitter troll tricked 4,900 Democrats into not voting,
Oh my
into texting their
gosh.
vote when there was no evidence, and
Oh.
the prosecution didn't even claim that. All they claimed that once you agree to post the meme, that it's a crime, regardless of how many people texted it. And then at trial, of course, no evidence came out that anybody was tricked or that the people that texted it were Democrats or whatever. So the New York Times just another blatant lie in their headline.
So, um, so this was the circle that we've seen over and over and over. Someone sets the narrative, the media pick it up, then they overblow it, and then all of a sudden we have, Houston, we have a problem, and
Yep.
we must find a person to blame for this. So, did you ever find out who designed that meme by any chance?
No, we never found out.
Really? Oh,
Even the government
wow.
didn't find out,
Really?
which is funny.
Wow.
So there were some group chats. I think that now I'm struggling to even remember. They introduced group chats where I wasn't even involved in into
Oh,
evidence, and I'm looking at the criminal complaint, and it's the first time I'm seeing this stuff that I'm supposedly implicated in. So there might have
hmm.
been they were talking about, I can't even remember, but there actually might have been some stuff in evidence about who created it, some random account, but I can't even remember.
Wow. Wow. Oh, okay. Okay. So you're indicted.
Yep.
Um, you have to, what do you do? I mean, this,
Oh,
this attorney, this attorney that I mean, how did you find an appropriate attorney for this? I mean, that in and
yeah,
of itself must have been hard. How do I get a person who knows the
yeah,
federal courts? How
exactly.
does this happen?
So after I was indicted and I got out, which it was a whole ordeal where they didn't give me my wallet or my phone, and I didn't have it. They made me leave that at home, and then so I get out of the courtroom. My poor roommates had left because they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know
Oh,
what was happening, so they had left. So I had no ride home. I had to go. I had to walk over to the train station, jump in a cab, take me home, get my wallet, go to the ATM, pay the cabbie. So that was a nice little trick they pulled on me. So ultimately, uh, now I'm trying to remember even what the question was. Yeah, the attorney. So I
yeah.
started. So I was very fortunate. Some friends reached out. Somebody wired me, $10,000
Wow.
so that I could retain an attorney. I didn't have any money at this point. I just started my business, And obviously, I didn't have any money to my name, basically. So I started calling around different attorneys, interviewing them, seeing who would accept, the case, take the $10,000 to start. Granted, on the condition that we were going to try to fundraise a legal defense. But look, I had no money. I don't know. Am I going to have a public defender? How are we going to do this? So I just looked through all the attorneys that I knew, and I retained an attorney, and actually switched attorneys before the trial. Um,
Oh, wow.
but that's a whole other story.
Oh, that
You
sounds
switch
like a bad
attorney,
one.
you have to do. Sometimes you have to do this. But yeah, we switched it. But I was like, how in the world? There were attorneys that wanted a retainer of 250,000,
Wow.
which honestly, that's actually, well, that's just for, that'll get you through. Maybe that'll get you to trial if you're lucky. Maybe that's the deal. And
Right.
so I had, fortunately, some friends willing to help me out here, but it was very difficult. I said, how in the world are we going to raise money to fight this case when these bills are going to be racking up into the hundreds of thousands easily? And we're going to talk about, and ultimately millions is how far
Yeah.
these bills can go.
How did you end up with a Jones Day lawyer? I mean, that's amazing. At least I saw that on their
amazing.
website.
Those were
It's a white shoe
so we
firm.
had the trial. So I had the first attorney I hired. I switched attorneys for the trial. And then a lot of times you hire a different attorney for appellate
Absolutely.
because
Sure.
maybe, you want fresh eyes on the case.
Mhm.
Maybe they're going to do a better job on the appeal. I mean, it all depends. Some trial attorneys do appeals, and so they're willing to do your appeal too. But, it all depends. There's different strategies. So I was very fortunate that Jones Day took the case because in the beginning, nobody wanted my case. The idea that some white shoe law firm was going to take the case, and
Yeah.
the idea that some big law firm was going to take the case pro bono was completely impossible, even though they'll represent
Oh,
any illegal immigrant off the streets, they'll represent the 9/11 people, whatever, the terrorists.
sure. Oh,
But
yeah.
they won't represent somebody who just got indicted 7 days after Biden got elected. They won't.
Yeah.
There's no chance. So I would look, even if maybe if we had maybe if I had $2 million lying around and I could throw it at them, maybe they would have taken the case. That would probably be the only solution situation where they would have taken the case. But by the time the appeal came around, we had sort of turned the tide. I have a lot of thanks to Tucker Carlson for
Oh.
he covered my case many times, half dozen times
Oh, yeah. I'd sort of
before
heard
he
of.
got fired from Fox News, and then after he got fired from Fox News, I was interviewed by him for his X video series. So
Mhm.
it's very fortunate. And then we had Donald Trump in 2023 after the conviction. He mentioned my case by name as an example of the Democrats' lawfare weaponization. Donald Trump Jr. Covered my case, and I was on his podcast twice. Great guy. So the tide had turned, and at that point, of course, Trump was sort of on the rise. Let's say he was going to win. I guess I guess we didn't know if he was going to win the nomination, but Trump was on the rise, uh, and a lot of former Trump attorneys were working at these law firms like Jones Day. So we actually retained Jones Day. One of the attorneys that we retained was the head of the Civil Rights Division under Donald Trump during the first term.
It's awesome.
Another was a very excellent attorney who had won many cases at the Supreme Court, including the Chris Christie Bridgegate case.
Oh, really?
And so
Whoa.
these are Republican lawyers. They're looking at my case and saying, this is sort of a free speech case. This is sort of a pro-Trump case and sort of a Republican case.
Mhm.
So at that point, I was lucky to retain them. And, but, not pro bono or anything. I had to pay them.
Sure.
And we had to raise more money to pay them.
You just
which
should
is
have told him you were a
a
9/11
challenge.
hijacker and just, like you mentioned before. I mean, even, they got great attorneys from all the white shoe law firms, from Eric Holder's and everybody else's. Amazing. Just anyway.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, Fire, when I got arrested, Fire was they were focused on
Oh, yeah.
Foundation for Individual Rights, whatever. They were focused
Sure.
on higher education, so they
Yep.
wouldn't have necessarily taken. But by the time my appeal came around, they were actually broadening to handle more cases, but Fire was not interested.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd
So
think that Harvey would be interested if he still had anything to do with it.
yeah, so
He's been a guest on this program a couple of times. I'm trying to find his book.
but I was very more than fortunate to have Jones Day.
Yeah.
So that's the story. But when I was on trial, we didn't have money to hire a whole legal team.
Yeah.
Oh, get some crazy high dollar legal team. No, it
What,
was me and one lawyer who was one of the most brilliant men I've ever met, who
really?
did a fantastic job. But at the same time, it's me and one lawyer sitting there in the
Sure.
courtroom.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's like Derek Chauvin and his one attorney versus the dream team, 16 other lawyers in that particular criminal case. But I mean, it
Yeah.
happens a lot. You're stuck. You can't hire special experts necessarily. Did you have people donating their time, i.e., pro bono stuff at all in your case, or how did that work out?
Yeah, I had
Because
some people that were sort of
this is a pretty
agreed.
serious case. You need expertise, right? You need to figure out how
Oh yeah,
people work the algorithm. There's all sorts of different things that one could do to make your point. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
yeah. So I had a little bit of pro bono help, not necessarily on the criminal side. I had a great lawyer, former Trump attorney by the name of James Lawrence, who helped with the fundraising.
Yeah.
I had a
Oh, that's
couple
cool.
attorneys help behind the scenes, doing some legal research for briefs to support my criminal attorney and sort of vetting all that vetting legal arguments, that kind of thing. So I had
Hmm.
fortunately had some help on that side of it.
So that's the appeal. But in the meantime, you'd been found guilty.
Yeah. So the trial was scheduled for March of 2023. Now, I had gotten engaged to my then fiance because even though we delayed it for a little bit, we said, well, this could take forever. Who knows what's going to happen? So
Sure.
we got married. We set the wedding date for January of 2023 because we're in Florida, so January is a pretty good month. Uh, and then we get the trial date March 2023. So we had sort of like a last hurrah, big party, a lot of fun before you have the stress bearing down on you of the trial. And the fact is that with one attorney and a whole mountain of discovery, I had to
Yeah.
do a lot of the work. I was taking into all this discovery, and we couldn't even review all of it. There was no chance we're going to review all of it.
Yeah.
And we had some interns and such who wanted to chip in and review discovery. But even with a whole handful of interns, everything else, very difficult just to review this evidence. Very, very difficult.
How
Uh,
soon did it take you to realize they didn't have any evidence?
well, yeah, no, we knew that they never had evidence. They were fabricating it. So they dumped a million direct messages on our heads and said, this is the evidence. So we have to dig through a million direct messages, say, try to figure out what's going on, try to figure out how they're even fabricating this case against me.
Was it on paper or did
No,
they dump was
it
it
was
a
worse.
searchable database?
Paper would have been better.
Uh-huh.
It was the discovery they get from Twitter is in the form of text files in folders, arranged into folders. So if I go into a folder and open up a text file, let's just say it's labeled the Ricky Vaughn folder, and I open up
Mhm.
a text file, and all it says is one line of text: "Vote for Trump," whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
How am I going to put that into context? And especially when you're talking about direct messaging groups where there's layers of people responding over and over again, and all you get is one text file for each message. And
So
so, yeah,
they were not in any order is what you're saying.
no,
No
they weren't in
context
any order. There was no context. You had to basically hire some tech firm to put this into some
for thousands and
kind of
thousands of dollars.
legible format. I mean, it would have been better if they just had all the DMs and printed out on a piece of paper, and I could look at it and see what's going on. It
Yeah.
was way worse than that. And if there was an image attached, that would be a separate file. So you got to match up the text file with the images and then put it into order. Crazy, crazy. So
Mm.
that was the discovery that we were dealing with. We couldn't even review all of it. It would have been impossible.
Wow. It seems to me that they should change the rules and say
Yeah.
that any evidence that is forthcoming, any technical evidence has to be in context, in a format that people can understand. I mean, it just makes no
Oh yeah.
sense. You have to hire an
And
expert to
yeah,
figure that
they
out.
should do it. They should be forced to give it to you like that. I mean, they have their own ways of doing it, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of thing buries a defense. It
oh
just
yeah.
absolutely it costs prohibitive amounts of money to get
Yep.
experts to sort that out. It is beyond the ken of most people. I mean, they can't do that
No.
because I mean, and so that's why you're up against it. They're playing with house money, and you're stuck with, making sure that you're doing some fundraising, maybe on GoFundMe or something. No, oh wait, that's right. We
Exactly
were
right.
we were censored from GoFundMe, right? We
Yeah.
no conservatives could be on GoFundMe.
No
How much
chance.
were? Oh, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No chance. No, I didn't even try to create a GoFundMe.
Yeah. Uh, so at the time that you tweeted these images, you had you'd been kicked off Twitter, right?
Yep.
So these never went on Twitter, your biggest account, the Ricky Vaughn account,
The original
correct?
one is like Ricky Vaughn 99.
Okay,
Ricky
so then
Vaughn 99.
you had a mirror one, but it didn't have nearly as many followers as your initial one,
Yeah,
right?
no, the original one was banned before these memes, before I even posted these memes. That's
Okay,
when
so all
the
right,
original one
so
says 62,000 followers was banned, and the follow-up account only had like 14 or 12,000
uh-huh.
when these memes went out onto it.
Hmm. If you ever see another meme, something like this during an election period, you ever going to click on it again and amplify
Well,
it?
it's totally crazy. I mean, they say that it's totally legal to
Mhm.
post these memes. Well, at least under federal law, as long as you're not conspiring with anybody else. So I could just sit around all day long and make these memes and post them, and it wouldn't be violating federal law. Now, there's some states where they might be able to contort it into saying you're violating a state law, but even those laws are questionable whether they would even be constitutional. But the I don't think I don't want to spend another $2 million,
Yeah.
excuse me, posting a meme. So I guess I'm gonna stay away from it.
You were prosecuted, you were doxxed, you were forced to move, you moved to a different state. You
Mhm.
were you ever fired from a job or anything like that? Or by that time you were your boss, right?
So I was not fired for anything online. Yeah, I was my own boss, so I never had the the disgrace of being fired. Say, oh, we saw your tweets, and
Yeah.
we think you should probably leave now. No, that never happened to me, fortunately. But the list goes on and on. We had the wedding. I found out my wife was pregnant at the trial, and the stress on my wife was completely absurd, and it affected her a lot. We had complications of pregnancy. My wife was hospitalized, and on the eve of sentencing, uh, no, yeah, on the eve of sentencing, I got into an airplane, flew to New York City while my wife's at the hospital, and then they told me I got a phone call. Yeah, we're gonna have to have an emergency C-section tonight.
Wow.
Completely impossible to jump on a plane and fly back down to Florida. So I just had to, and there was no point in canceling the sentencing because I was gonna miss the C-section. So went to the sentencing in the morning and got on a plane afterwards and go and meet my wife and the baby. So
Mm.
the ordeal was crazy, and my son was born premature. He has many health problems I've spoken about. He had perinatal stroke, which affected his brain,
Oh,
and he had a genetic mutation which affected all kinds of stuff. He's had multiple surgeries and
wow.
countless hours of therapy.
Mhm.
So not only do I have this case, I'm in the NICU for 3.5 months. The judge at the sentencing hearing the judge says, the judge says, no, first of all, my attorney said, well, obviously there's a lot of issues of law here, and we have many grounds for appeal, and they're very strong, and some of them are novel questions of law. Therefore, I should be entitled to an appeal bond pending appeal for the duration of the appeal. The government, to our great surprise, even my attorney was surprised, opposed this. And the judge said she sided with the government, as she did. I don't even want to say 95% of the time. It was 100% of the time she sided with the government.
That's the way it usually is.
Yeah, especially
because those guys come out of the prosecutor's offices, obviously.
She felt like they were her children.
Yeah.
They're her children, and the defense, and even the criminal defense attorney, they're kind of like the naughty kids, the naughty neighbors or whatever, and the prosecutors are her children.
Yeah.
That's how she treated it. I mean, they don't even pretend. The other guy, Judge Garofis, the original judge, was a Democrat, but he at least, kind of seemed reasonable, kind of seemed even-handed, or at least tried to sound even-handed. And then he got COVID on the eve of trial, and we switched to a woman, a different woman who was a Democrat, and she was completely not even trying. So she said no. But she felt like she was being generous. She said, we'll give you the holidays and you can report on January 18th, which is like 3 months away. So here I am. I go back home. We have to appeal just to stay out of prison. And I'm in the NICU for my son for 3.5 months. And I'm thinking, my poor wife and I are thinking, like, am I gonna leave the NICU and go to prison?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And report to prison for 7 months? And look, when you have 7 months, they don't when you have a sentence that's less than 1 year, they don't shorten it at all. It's not like, "Oh, you get out in 5 months for good behavior." When it's a short sentence, they don't shorten it at all. So we're
I didn't
thinking,
know
"Am
that.
I gonna have to go to federal prison?" Well, my wife's in the NICU. She's gonna be raising this child with many special medical needs and care that he needs. So the stress was completely through the roof. And
How did you
yeah,
cope? What did you do? Were you just, I mean, I would
well,
want to just like break out a bottle of gin or something.
so difficult, yeah.
I
And I
mean,
wasn't getting
honestly.
sleep. I wasn't getting any sleep with the NICU and everything else, and like staying here, sleeping on these couches and whatever in the hospital. So it was extremely difficult. I guess the only way I could say that I coped was focusing on my son and working. I would work. I would and try to work out of a hospital, like in the NICU.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So I was very tied up with my son and working, which I guess distracted me,
Sure.
so we got Jones Day, very exciting. We
Just
filed the yeah, go ahead.
my friend of mine had her son had cancer.
Yeah,
And young young kid. And so she's a coach, a running coach, and
yeah,
she is a force of nature.
yeah,
And she started a ministry, if you will, to put workout facilities in hospitals
yeah,
for parents to blow
for
off
sure.
some steam. Because
Yeah.
sitting in a chair, you're not getting any fresh air or whatever. That doesn't help anybody, right? But if you
Oh,
can
yeah.
get some exercise, if you can, it just helps everything. Helps your frame of mind, your
That's great.
everything. Yeah. So she's
It's so
done it
difficult.
multiple hospitals in the
I
country.
will
So,
tell you, my brother, he suffered a brain injury, and we were in Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital for a number of weeks, helping him. And he made he finally made a recovery,
oh man,
but he
that's
had to
awesome.
go to a rehab hospital.
Mhm.
And at that rehab hospital, uh, it's not a hospital; it's a rehab hospital. It was really great. They have living facility for family.
Oh,
They
wow,
have a gym,
cool.
basketball court, cafeteria, and And so not just obviously they have, the patients have their own workout, obviously, but they have a gym that's just for the families to go
That's
use.
awesome.
So that was really great.
So
But
good.
it's very difficult, being in these hospitals day after day, dealing with a very difficult medical situation.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, plus you need some place you can just tell everybody you're sweating when you're crying. Just can't,
Exactly, exactly, right? Yeah,
Okay, so you get your dream team from Jones Day. You've got
yeah,
some people with cred behind you, and
yep,
now but you get the bond, right? You have to
yeah.
go and you get to the
We got
appeals
the
court, and
bond.
you get the
Yep,
bond, so you don't have to go to jail right away. You can wait until such time that your appeal is heard, and your appeal was heard.
yep.
So tell us about that elating experience.
Yeah,
So-
so the tide started turning. We went on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast. We got Jones Day. We filed the appeal bond, and it was really strong. I mean, it's really great for the bond just for the appeal.
Sure.
And they even had an oral argument, which
Wow.
they
Unusual,
don't do
right?
that. It's unusual to have usually they just deny it
Oh,
without even writing anything. Now they had an oral argument, and the chief, not the chief, the senior most judge we had one Trump judge on the panel who was really a great guy. This the chief judge, the senior most judge on the appellate panel was a Clinton appointee, maybe, uh, but he
mhm.
was really smart. This guy's like a law professor. He's really intelligent. And the funny thing is, one of our grounds that we were arguing was that jurisdiction was improper. The concept of venue, that they claimed that they had venue in the Eastern District of New York because tweets had flown over some wires surrounding the Eastern District. Completely absurd. And
Oh,
what I guess the
I've
prosecution
heard
didn't
that's two
know.
big cases, two federal cases I've heard about where they just go, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we want it in our backyard because
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to prosecute this case." Keep going. I'm sorry.
And usually they at least have something like the guy flew on an airplane to meet with someone that was part of the conspiracy. They had nothing like that. All they had was some tweets going over some wires. Little did they know the senior judge on the appellate panel, as a defense attorney, had won a case at the Second Circuit Court on venue in his career before he became a judge.
Nice.
So, needless to say, the government got pushback on this. They were forced to admit this case was novel. And another funny thing is that this guy Breon Peace, the U.S. attorney,
Mm,
they put out a press release saying this groundbreaking prosecution, blah 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 blah, and then they wanted to tell the appellate court that this was just ho hum. This was just another election law case.
oh
But here they
God.
put in their press release, groundbreaking
Yeah.
prosecution. So they had to admit it was novel.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
senior judge was very skeptical of well, he wasn't so much skeptical on the conspiracy part, he should have been, but he was very skeptical on venue and the idea that they're going to deny me a bond. I'm going to serve an entire 7 months before this appeal is even heard.
Sure.
How is that even fair? I mean,
Right.
so the law says that you're entitled to a bond in the Second Circuit if you're not a danger, you're not a flight risk, your case is novel, or your you know your case is novel. There's a couple other uh, or if you were to prevail on the arguments, your case would automatically be overturned.
Yep.
Sometimes people make an argument. They say, "Well, you're right. There was an error, but it was not a reversible error." But in my
Mm-hmm.
case, if we won the appeal, it would automatically be overturned. So I was entitled to a bond. It's not like I was begging for a bond. I was entitled to it. And the fact that the judge denied it was just bad law. Like it was just being a bad judge.
Yep.
So we won the bond, obviously. And they didn't then the appeal. We wrote the appeal. That was amazing. Really incredible. We argued the case before a completely different panel at the Second Circuit. And they were very tough. There it is. That's the conviction. Yeah, reversing the conviction.
Mm-hmm.
They were very tough. two Republicans, one Democrat, one Reagan, I believe, older lady, and she was very tough on both sides. That's kind of the way she is. You can't read too much into it because she asks very tough questions.
Mm.
The lead judge on the panel, she probably wanted this case for herself, was the chief of the Second Circuit, who's a Republican appointed and very, very intelligent, like fair-minded. She
Yeah.
usually pro-prosecution,
Hmm.
but very much by the book and fair-minded and intelligent. So we did the oral argument. They questioned the government. They questioned my attorneys, and we felt like we had a good case. But who knows what's going to happen? The third judge was a Democrat, but uh, from my home state of Vermont, reasonable
Mm.
enough lady, not crazy or anything like that. And so, but that was sitting around 13 months from the oral arguments to the decision, which came down in July.
So
So
was
we've
it
been waiting on pins and needles for 13 months for this decision.
was it a 3-0 decision? Or was
Unanimous
it
3-0 decision.
sweet?
Yeah.
Nice. And they reversed it and then they remanded it. Oh, with instructions to enter a judgment of acquittal.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times what they do, at least I've seen SCOTUS do this, where they say, okay, we reverse and remand, and then they have to figure it all out again.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, God, yeah, could you? Because they're not triers of fact. But this is unusual to order enter a judgment of acquittal. That means you're not guilty. You are done and done.
Exactly.
With prejudice. I didn't say that,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know.
So our appeal is three-pronged. Number one, we said that this law did not apply to posting a meme on the internet. This KKK Act, the Klan Act of 1871, should not apply to somebody merely posting or publishing a meme. Number two, we said venue was not proper. Number three, we said the evidence introduced at the trial was insufficient to enter a verdict of guilty, that the jury actually erred in their verdict, in its verdict, and that there was insufficient evidence that I was part of a conspiracy. Anytime there's a conspiracy, you have to have an agreement and you have to have intent.
Yes.
Now, we didn't even get that. Now, their evidence for intent was garbage, but we didn't even bother appealing that. You know, it's kind of like you go with your strongest three arguments. Let's say you don't want to list the whole kitchen sink. There were Brady issues where we said that they had withheld evidence.
Yep.
We felt like they misled the court about the cooperating witness in order to allow him to testify under a pseudonym, which is completely bizarre.
Yeah, that is crazy.
MS-13 or ISIS or Al Qaeda.
Sure.
Not even the mob witnesses had the luxury of testifying under a pseudonym. So anyway, those were all issues that we didn't even raise on appeal that probably should have been, grounds to throw out the case. But we went with our top three. And so they came out with a decision. Now, they did not even, the appellate court, for those that know the law, they don't necessarily reach a decision on all the grounds. They did not even reach the application of the law. They did not even reach the application of venue. They threw the case out because they said, regardless of whether venue was improper or regardless of whether this law was properly applied, we're not ruling on that. They simply did not have enough evidence of an agreement with the cooperating witness to bring a conviction. They said that I had testified that I never intended anybody lose their vote, that I never knew this guy microchip or agreed to anything with him.
Mm.
The government even conceded that we had no communications outside of what was in the discovery, outside of what was presented at trial, because we didn't know each other personally. We never met. Therefore, and we didn't have each other's phone number. We never spoke on the phone. Therefore, the only evidence that we communicated would have been on Twitter, and they didn't present any evidence that we had actually communicated. And so they said there was not enough evidence for the jury to side with the prosecution. And in that case where there's not enough evidence, it's very extremely rare that they do this. they actually cited an old mafia case where there wasn't enough evidence because it's Second Circuit, it's New York.
New
There's a lot of
York.
mafia case law. It's New
Sure.
York.
Sure.
Exactly. So they have the Gambino and all these case law of conspiracy. So it was actually maybe it would have been nice if they had ruled, just as far as our liberties are concerned, that this was insufficient venue, that this was
Yep.
the wrong application of the law. However, for me personally, that would have been better for the country, but for me personally, this was the best outcome, a judgment of acquittal.
So nothing that they did in the court in the New York Eastern District of New York court would be precedent setting. For example, I mean, the things, the venue and all that stuff that you said that the second district court of appeals didn't rule on. It's just the whole thing's vacated, correct? So even they're okay. So there's nothing precedential about it. Oh,
exactly.
okay, that's exactly.
There's no appellate. There's no controlling case law of the Second Circuit now on the application of this law. So the unfortunate thing is, hey, they could try this all over again and say, hey, not against me, but against somebody else.
Mm.
And say, well, the evidence is, we have sufficient evidence this time. So we're really going to bust this person for making memes that somehow injure somebody's vote. So unfortunately, that precedent wasn't set that we really would have liked to be set. But like I said, I think it does still send a message to these prosecutors not to do these witch hunts, and we'll be going after the prosecutors and the FBI agents to sort of further drive home that message that this sort of weaponized prosecution, lawfare, where you're picking targets based on politics,
Yep.
you're abusing the law with really specious and novel interpretations, applications of the law,
Absolutely.
like they did to President Trump many times over.
So you're suing them. You're suing them.
So yeah, we're starting with suing the DOJ, or let me say, filing a claim against DOJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate to retain a great lawyer, former chief counsel of Doge by the name of James Burnham in his law firm.
Wow.
And he was a Trump attorney in the first administration, I believe. We filed a tort claim with DOJ. So,
right.
Look, I know a lot of people have different opinions about the DOJ. From what I've seen, they seem to be very responsive to weaponization and lawfare and putting an end to it. And back when he was the chief of staff for Pam Bondi, a man by the name of Chad Mizell wrote very favorably about my case being thrown out. So we are very hopeful and confident that we're going to come to an agreement with the DOJ so that we don't have to file suit against the DOJ.
I see.
Now, once we do
You're
that,
looking for a settlement.
Exactly. We're looking for settlement, but that's not the end of it. We're not just going to settle and say, okay, we're going away. I'm very fortunate to have retained a second great law firm because, some of these law firms are now more willing to actually work pro bono for conservatives because Trump made all these deals and he sort of shamed
That's
them
right.
for doing it.
Yeah, I shamed him. I always thought those were, I mean, I know I did it. I just thought it was hanky, didn't like it. But now they have to help conservatives because
So I'm fortunate to retain a second law firm, big law firm that's going to help.
Which
They're
one?
going to assist
Do you know?
James Burnham, Milbank.
Oh, I don't know that one. So, okay.
Yeah, it's just one of the big ones. They're going to assist James. We have a great partner or two. They're going to be working on the case. Former Trump attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be assisting James Burnham and I with investigating the DOJ and pushing for investigations and hopefully being cooperative. And we're going to try to investigate the genesis of the case, the decisions that were made, the conduct of the prosecutors, the conduct of the agents pursuing the case. And from this investigation, that we're hopeful that the Trump DOJ will be in favor of pursuing. I know there's a lot of great people working on, for example, the Weaponization Task Force, a man by the name of Ed Martin.
Yes, he's awesome.
He's number 4. Stanley Woodward was Trump's attorney.
Okay.
He's number 3. These are people. Todd Blanche was Trump's attorney. He's number 2. These are people who are interested in justice and weaponization.
I do know that they're down 30 attorneys. I know because a lot of, we're leaving. We don't like that Donald Trump. He's so mean. And so people left and then some people were fired, booted out. because of their I don't know, ethics lapses.
Oh yeah,
So
I
they
can
are
tell you
down.
about that.
What's that?
I can tell you a little bit about that as an aside.
Yes, I'd love to hear it.
So, my case was prosecuted by the Public Integrity Section. It's called PIN for short. Why it's PIN, I don't know. It's Public Integrity Section. There were 30 attorneys in there. They were the ones teaming up with Jack Smith to go after President Trump. And you ask yourself, why is public integrity involved in my case? It's the Klan Act. Isn't this a civil rights case? The attorneys in the civil division, not the civil division, excuse me, the civil rights division, didn't even know about my case under Trump. This
Wow.
was routed through public integrity, which is one of the worst deep state offices. After President Trump was elected the second time around and inaugurated, they fired almost all of these attorneys or pushed them out, so that they left. And they disbanded the section and sent the attorneys over to work for other, on other cases, whatever. So that's the story of public integrity.
Oh,
That was
that's
behind my
fascinating.
prosecution. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why they're down 30 attorneys. This former
Yeah.
DOJ attorney.
Just in that office, they're probably down 10 attorneys or 20 attorneys. Well, that office is no longer, but most of the attorneys left.
Wow.
So yeah, they're shorthanded. That's a big problem, but I do know that they have 3 more years, so hopefully they can get all staffed up and do what they need to do. I mean, you can't even fire these people
Yeah.
unless you pull the right levers and go through the right processes. So it's complete abuse of sort of bureaucratic process.
Yeah.
So we're going to be hopefully having some accountability and reform within the DOJ. That'll be part 2.
Okay. You're making it count there. That's pretty amazing.
Exactly. We don't want to just take the money and run.
Right? I mean, yeah. Yeah, because even though you won that first and the second this case in the second district court of appeals, you go, okay, well, it's good for me, but it's less than satisfying. But now you're gonna put a stake in the ground for
Yeah,
this and this other stuff, and you're gonna
now
put a
we're
stake
doing
in the ground.
conference.
Absolutely, and
A lot less stressful.
yeah, amazing. Wow, Douglas Mackey, that's pretty awesome. So take me through the day you got the news that you were a free man.
Yeah, so I got the news. So I'll tell you. Leading up to getting the news, we're thinking to us. I was thinking to myself, "Well, am I going to have to ask for a pardon if we lose this appeal?
Right.
Or are we going to go to the Supreme Court? Or are we going to ask President Trump for a pardon?" Now, the great Charlie Kirk, who was a champion of my case, right after Trump was elected for the second time, said, "Douglas Mackey needs a pardon. Get this man a pardon." And we kind of had to send out the message of, we're going to wait. We're going to try to win the case. We're not going to ask for a pardon. And that's nerve wracking. Pardon ends it and you're home free. So July 9th rolls around. We had flown up, my family and I, to visit some family back home, which for me is in Vermont. And it's very beautiful there in the summer. And we flew in, and the next morning at around 10 or 11 a.m., I get a text from my attorney that says, "Congratulations." And so I figured I had won, but I had to call him and confirm the news. He said, "I'll send you the brief once I get my copy of it." And so that was jubilation, just incredible. In a certain sense, I didn't know what to do with myself because I've been fighting this case 4.5 years, and all of a sudden I won. So in a sense, you don't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
It's like psychological shift, you get so invested in one mode of like defense fighting, and then it's
You're
like
fighting for your life.
have to shift. So my family
Yeah.
and I celebrated, and we poured over the brief, the opinion. We poured over the opinion and said, "Wow, like this is a great opinion." I read that opinion like a couple times, like once or twice. And then the media started calling and said, "Can you go on my show? Can you go on this show? Can you go on that show?"
I was one of those people.
My family was a little bit upset with me because here I am on vacation. And the first day or two, I did like 10 interviews. And then after a couple days, it finally slowed down a little bit. So I was talking and talking and talking. So it was a lot of fun. And then after that, I sort of settle in, enjoy the vacation, and figure out like now what? Well, now what am I gonna do with myself? So no, the crazy thing is I won the appeal, but I'm still under federal supervision
Why?
because we don't have a final uh, order yet. Technically, the administration could still appeal the case um, to a higher level or whatever. So we had to wait 45 days plus 7 to get the mandate, the judgment. We thought it was going to be 14 days. So I'm like sitting around waiting, like, where's my judgment? Come on, like, what's
Mhm.
going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's my judgment? And so, because I can't get my guns back. I still have to email the officer and say, hey, fortunately, we had gotten permission where I could travel to 48 states without permission, but I still had to email and say, hey, I'm going to Vermont. Hey, I'm going to DC, wherever.
Mm,
So I'm sitting around saying, "Where's my?" And we wanted to file our tort claim, so I'm sitting around like, "Where's my judgment?" So, but then
right.
we finally found out, no, the criminal law is 45 days, civil law 14 days,
Ah,
and then September 3rd rolled around, we got the mandate, and it's the craziest thing. I mean, looking back, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but this is the second time where the judge had lost the paperwork or whatever. The first time was for the bond.
what?
The day after
Sounds like
the
something I'd
original
do.
my original reporting date to prison. We got it. My attorney gets an email, and the U.S. attorney, and my attorneys get an email from pretrial supervision, like, "Oh, Mr. Mackey is not in the prison system or whatever, Bureau of Prisons, BOP, whatever." And they had to tell her, "We actually won the appeal. The judge rushed out an order saying that continuing the same conditions of release." And, I don't know how you don't see this order come across your desk. Maybe it's your case manager is not paying attention. I don't know.
Mhm.
But then it happened again. The mandate came down November 3rd. 20 days later, we're sitting around saying, where is the judgment? Where's the judgment? The mandate is when the circuit court tells the district court what they have to do. It's not
Mhm.
optional.
Right?
And so what's the delay? It's putting out a piece of paper, innocent, not guilty. Mark, check a box, not guilty.
Huh.
20 days, my attorney finally sends an email, or he finally files a letter on the docket to the judge saying, we don't see any reason why there should be delay. We're asking for you to do whatever he said.
Do your
And
job.
she said, whoa, due to a paperwork error, we apologize. Here's the judgment. And so finally, after 20 more days, I'm sitting around saying,
Oh my gosh.
what is going on here? Where's my judgment? We finally got the judgment on September 23rd.
I hope you make sure that you get trouble damages for having to pay an attorney to do something that they should have done for free.
I
I mean,
know.
not the lawyer, but I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's insane.
get him, Douglas
It's
Mackey,
totally
get him.
insane.
Oh
So we
man, oh
filed our
man.
tort claim, and
Hmm.
we're in the bureaucratic process of processing the claim. Hopefully, we're going to start negotiating on the claim soon
I hope that you
and
get it
come to a
before.
settlement.
Yep.
And hoping for the best in that respect. Yeah, the cost of this thing in terms of money is millions. I mean, I owe Jones Day.
Yeah.
I owe several other attorneys a lot of money. So it's like I'm not. It's like I haven't been made whole at all.
Mm.
Um,
How do we help
and
you?
we're not even talking about the anguish and the mental toll. And I would say like, well, this thing has took a huge toll on my wife. And for me, it actually took a huge toll on me too, obviously. But you don't realize it at first because you don't break down and start rolling around the ground saying, "Oh, my life." But it's the constant uh, pressure.
Yeah.
It's the cumulative effect of it.
Yep. Yeah.
That messes with your mind. Um, with me, I never like broke down and whatever, or got too depressed to get out of bed or anything like that. But it's just the constant mental toll that it takes on you, the constant
Oh, yeah.
psychological toll. It's a sort of
Never
the
goes
the
away.
constant pressure.
Never goes away. And
Yeah, yeah.
well, all over this meme and that one. They wanted to put you in federal prison for 7 months.
Crazy.
Couldn't agree more.
Really crazy.
Godspeed to you and your lovely
you.
bride. And best wishes to your son for all the health, getting everything healthy, health-wise, getting that all up to scratch for him. I pray that happens for you. And I'll be watching your case. I hope you keep me in mind next time something big happens.
Thank you very much. And we have a support page for my son. You can give money or just follow along. It's fun to just follow along with his progress. supportnow.com/Roy-Mackey. So send my son your prayers for my family and anyone who wants to give. We're very grateful. But you can also just follow along if you don't have any money. And he's a fun kid, and he's very fun to watch him progress. And we're going to be getting him some expensive treatments that health insurance doesn't pay for, thanks to the money that we've raised from strangers, essentially, and some friends.
And to help your defense fund?
Yeah, so like I said, hopefully we get paid. The second I settle, I will take down the fund, but as of right now, I owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. So memedefensefund.com, MEME defensefund.com.
Okay. All right.
And you can follow me on X at Doug Mackey Case.
Yes, at Doug Mackey Case. Thank you. Appreciate you taking us through it. I'm sure we missed a few details, but not too many, I think.
Pretty thorough.
Yeah, I'd say so. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for being with me for the past 5+ years. And I want to thank all the new viewers of the Adult in the Room podcast. As I've said, we've tripled in size over the past 5 years, and now we're giving it even more gumption. We're going at it even harder, and we would need you to do that and continue to share this podcast, clip it, give the show 5-star rating, comment on the show. Let's keep it going in 2026, okay? And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.